of harmonic trading. So let's look at the butterfly pattern and start from there. Origin of the butterfly pattern. There are several interpretations of the butterfly structure. The pattern was first outlined by Bryce Gilmore in his Wave Trader software and on his website. However, much like the Gartley pattern and the initial interpretations of the Gartley pattern, there were many variations and many different structures that were considered a butterfly. But in my book, The Harmonic Trader, that I released in 1998, I outlined the exact ratio alignment requirements for all pattern points to define what I called the ideal structure, or the butterfly structure that yielded the most profitable opportunities. This specification defines the most symmetrical structural trade opportunities and filters similar invalid M and W type extensions that appear the same but possess different ratio alignments. And this is very important, as we've seen in the difference with the BAT and the Gartley, and for all harmonic trading strategies and trading in general, precision is the key, because we eliminate mistakes when we're as precise as possible. Now, this ideal butterfly alignment limits the completion possibility for the extension structure to solely the 1.27 XA measurement. The pattern is different in nature as compared to a 1618 extension structure, such as the crab, that we'll get into a little bit later. And now my interpretation of the butterfly pattern has actually become the industry standard, and my differentiation actually helped refine the understanding and truly outline the best, most consistent opportunities. Butterfly pattern basics. Now, the butterfly depends upon the B point. And again, as we saw with the Gartley and the BAT, the B point really defines the structure and sets up the other measurements within the pattern to define the trade opportunity. For the butterfly, it must possess a precise 786 B point retracement of the XA leg. Now, there's a couple additional rules that I've included that have refined the structure further. This includes the BC projection that must be at least a 1618 measurement. Also, the butterfly pattern must include an equivalent AB equals CD pattern. This is a minimum requirement. However, the alternate 1.27 AB equals CD is most common for the structure. The 1.27 XA projection is the most critical number in the potential reversal zone. Again, there is no 1.618 XA projection with the butterfly. That's more for extreme structures, as we'll see in the crab. And finally, the C point must be within the range of a 382 to an 886 retracement. This essentially just ensures that this M or W type extension structure possesses the correct structural alignment to define the opportunity. Bullish butterfly pattern. Now, in the illustration, bullish butterfly pattern. Now, in the illustration, we have an M-type extension structure. This can be only one possibility at the D point for our primary XA leg, and that is a 1.27 extension. First place that I always look, though, when I see some type of extension structure is the B point. And ideally for the butterfly, it must be a 786, either exactly or very close to the 786. And there's different interpretations on how to define that, but we'll get into the illustrations. I'll walk through some examples. But this precise B point at the 786 XA retracement is critical because it establishes the other measurements for the structure. Now, for the butterfly, the BC extension is usually less extreme than the crab structure and is at least a 1618 extension. Can be as much as a 2.24, but really does not exceed or go beyond the 2.24. Maybe we see a 2.618, but the best structures include either a 1.618, a 2.0, or 2.24 extension. And again, these must complement and be complemented by a minimum AB equals CD pattern within that M-type structure, but is typically extended to possess a 1.27 AB equals CD. Bullish butterfly pattern potential reversal zone. Here we see an ideal bullish butterfly PRZ. In the best situations, we want to see the 127 XA leg as the lowest number in the zone. However, we're using the 1618 minimum BC extension to complement the ideal area. Sometimes the BC can be below the 127, but what's most important from this illustration is that the 127 must be tested before we even consider executing a trade. Again, the AB equals CD must be an equivalent minimum mandatory requirement, but can be extended. In the butterfly pattern, we use the 141 XA extension, that area just beyond that, as our stop loss measurement. We'll look at some examples, but this is important because this differentiates the structure between the crab and also sets the defined limit that really creates and reaffirms what the character of the butterfly pattern is. The butterfly pattern is not a severe pattern. It's more of a corrective structure that usually defines important swing lows and highs. But as long as we see the structure reverse in the potential reversal zone or just below it, but does not exceed the 141 XA extension, we have a valid trade opportunity. Here in our first example of the British pound on a 15-minute basis, we see a beautiful structure, and this possesses all of the necessary measurements to define and validate this M-type extension structure, including not exceeding the 141 XA extension. Again, the first place that I look when I'm looking at differentiating M-type bullish structures is the B point. In this case, look how it's exact. The B point is at an exact 7/86 of the XA leg. Now, this establishes the other measurements within the structure for a BC, a mandatory minimum 1618 BC extension that combines with the alternate 1.27 AB equals CD pattern. Those two numbers complemented the primary 1.27 XA leg. Looking at this chart of the price action in the potential reversal zone, it's important to notice how these measurements came together. Now we see the 127 AB equals CD and the 1618 BC extension completed in the exact area at 99.60. Now, the 127 XA extension was the lowest number in the zone at 99.50. So this created a nice 10 pip harmonic support range. I overlay the 141 XA extension as the defining limit within that zone. So we'll get into this when we look at execution, but remember, we're always waiting for the entire potential reversal zone to be tested. In this case, we see that the pattern completed and then stabilized within 2 price bars after completing the pattern. Although the price action slid slightly below the low end of the harmonic support range, it did not exceed the 141 XA leg. We're looking to take action and execute immediately after the completion point of the pattern. But in this case, despite exceeding that 127 XA leg, it did not continue lower, and it held above that 141. If we were looking at this pattern and we were waiting for the entire potential reversal zone to be tested, that immediate stabilization character that happens after the entire zone was tested is your early validation signal. Now maybe you wait 1 or 2 price bars, and again we'll look at other factors at trade execution, but in this case we're looking to always execute trades at or just below the potential reversal zone in bullish setups. I overlay the 141 XA extension as the defining limit within that zone. So we'll get into this when we look at execution, but remember, we're always waiting for the entire potential reversal zone to be tested. In this case, we see that the pattern completed and then stabilized within 2 price bars after completing the pattern. Although the price action slid slightly below the low end of the harmonic support range, it did not exceed the 141 XA leg. We're looking to take action and execute immediately after the completion point of the pattern. But in this case, despite exceeding that 127 XA leg, it did not continue lower, and it held above that 141. If we were looking at this pattern and we were waiting for the entire potential reversal zone to be tested, that immediate stabilization character that happens after the entire zone was tested is your early validation signal. Now maybe you wait 1 or 2 price bars, and again we'll look at other factors at trade execution, but in this case we're looking to always execute trades at or just below the potential reversal zone in bullish setups.